Hi everyone, welcome to this latest episode of the Five-1 Speedway show. I had a week off from doing any interviews. The last episode was with Tom Brennan. Again, another fine young international GB star coming through the ranks and everything. A quick thing to say on this video, I am having a few technical problems, so my video might be a bit out of my actual voice and everything tonight, but that's due to the foggy weather I've got down here, so I do apologise. But I'm glad to have this guy back on the show. He has got a lot more stories to tell us tonight, and hopefully, you can learn some more about this guy. So please welcome back to the show. He's the first person back on the show, Jeremy Doncaster.
Oh yeah, right. I thought I'd put a clap there. Look, because
Yeah, got the clap
gadgets.
on. Yeah.
I don't know how to get rid of it, but there we go.
All right, it'll come and go.
I think right there, it's gone. There you go.
There you go. So, Jeremy, how are you keeping since we last spoke?
Yeah, not bad. Still busy at work. So that's sign of the times, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
But we're good.
Yeah, it very much is a sign of the times at the moment, but fingers crossed with all this vaccine news and everything, we're going to get back to some sort of normality and everything. Yeah. So, fingers crossed.
That's right. Absolutely, yeah. I don't think it's a fingers crossed here, is I think there's a...
No.
Is that one? That one. Oh, no.
Oh, dear.
All these gadgets. Oh, well, that one. There we go.
There we go. Yeah, that's a bit better.
That's for the vaccine.
Yeah, that's it. Very much so. Very much so. Right then, so let's get stuck in then. So basically, just a quick sort of recap. We went over your Speedway career more than anything else. We touched on obviously how you started, which was obviously the early days of the schoolboy sort of grass track. And things like that. What we want to talk about tonight really is the finer bits we didn't really talk about much of, which was like your trips to Poland, Sweden, and obviously if you had any sort of other stories to do with grass track, and just things like that really. So let's talk a bit about your Polish career. So who did you ride for first? And I know it all happened because of Piggott Collins, but who did you first ride for?
First, I only rode for Unia Tarnov, which is it's about an hour and a half from the Russian border.
Okay.
The next village's local derby was Rzeszów, and which is like, I suppose, Kingsley and Ipswich. That they're local rivals, and I think they close links with Ipswich. Later on, Tony Rickardson rode for them. And obviously Thomas Golub, that's his last Polish club he rode for. Obviously Thomas rode for Bydgoszcz and Unia Tarnów. And then there's a bit of a breakaway from there and rode for Rylinski Tarnów, which was the main club sponsor, and he built his own track in his back garden, basically.
I suppose if you've got the land to do it, why not do it?
Yeah. But I signed up with PC. Got us, he set it up, the initial invitations, and obviously prior to that, I can't remember if we still have to have visas or not. I can't remember. 89 has just opened up. Prior to that, we used to have visas, and that's quite difficult, getting in and out of those Eastern Bloc countries. It was by invitation only. So, and I probably may have mentioned the last interview, but probably shouldn't advertise it too much. But I actually had to run 2 passports.
Oh, okay.
To get to these meetings, especially when we're applying for visas for the Eastern Bloc countries like Russia, Czechoslovakia, and Poland before '89, and they were quite treacherous trips really to try and get there. They're just very long-winded, and the reason why I had to sort of get another passport or a temporary passport was because my main passport was permanent way of getting visas, and even for England stuff. So then the passports, the local passports, were issued by the town hall. So I had to sort of go to the town hall with cup in hand and sort of say, look, I really need something to tie me over while the visa's away. And they looked at my schedule and looked at where I was, and they said, well, look, okay, it's discretionary. And he said, we have that discretion, so, and we will, but we know you are, so we'll help you out. But they couldn't do it for too long. I think I did it 2 or 3 years, and then they said, well, you know, we've heard the borders are opening up, so you probably won't need them, you know, soon, and which they did. And I think 89 was when we went there with and me and Mitch signed for that club.
Okay.
So that was it's nice stadium, you know, big track, big flat, sort of black dirt, bit narrow, about just over 400 metres. Typical Polish, but fairly slick, big and slick. Solid wooden fence, as you expect. We used to sleep at the stadium. You know, they used to sort of pick us up at ridiculous times. I mentioned about they cancelled a football match for.
Yeah, that's it. You mentioned that one.
For practice, so they ruled the roost. Loads of people there. You know, we woke up, you know, one morning to about 30,000 people. You know, which was incredible. They were good times. I mean, they did insist flying out for a pre-season fitness training to a ski resort, which was, I think we've got a hill at Ipswich bigger than their ski resort.
Yeah.
And there's and that had a wire going up to it, the one at Ipswich on the dry slope, but the one there you had to walk. You had to walk up the hill and
so they made it more sort of physical for you, really testing your fitness.
You can imagine Mitch, he's just in fits. You know, a pair of us were just laughing. And it's about something like minus something stupid, you know, it's like minus 15 or 28, you know, it's really, really cold. So, and they said, I think in the evening, they said, oh, yeah, we're having a team barbecue. You know, and I thought, what? You know, outside. You know, it's like, you're actually about an inch away from the fire, you know, sort of burning these Polish sausages, which all they did was spit fat for about 3 hours.
Oh, right. Oh, right. So by the time you came to eat it, there was nothing left on it then, really?
No, you couldn't burn it. There's no way you could burn it. You could put it as close as you wanted, just spat even more at you. But, yeah.
Yeah, so how many seasons did you actually spend riding in Poland then?
I don't really know. I was hoping you'd tell me, actually.
Oh.
But
well, that's one of the things I couldn't really find was how long you were there for. But yeah, so you must have been there for the early 90s and stuff like that.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I think probably I did about 3, maybe 4 years. I think it was a year initially, maybe 2 years with Unitarnoff, and maybe another 2 years maybe year and a half with Victoria Rolinski, you know, which was the spin-off on his track. And then that's the thing with those Polish things. They say, oh, we'll sign you up for, you know, you sign a contract for, you know, be say 13, 14 meetings, and they if they're going to a away meeting where they know they're going to lose because their riders don't ride it very well, they'll save their money and think, well, we're going to lose anyway, so we'll save you money on that, so we don't want you for that one.
So basically it was sort of like a chop and change in, really. So
yeah, the first year was good. The second year they sort of looked to scrimp and save, and you know, and it was very hit and miss. And the forfeit for doing that was the grass tracks and the long track. So you kind of, it's all over the weekend. There's only so many weekends in the year, so you're either doing stuff for England, riding in Poland, or occasional grass track, long track. And it's and at the time, the borders 89 opened up, and the East Germany opened up as well.
Yeah.
And it's one of those where it's quite a bit of a decision whether to sort of carry on with the grass and the long track, you know, and venture into new uncharted territory, and you know, the now you know, new United Germany, or you know, with the and some of those meters are great as well. I mean, you know, like, Tetro, Gustro, or you know, grasstrack Speedway, Ludwig Lust. You know, there's parking. There's some really good long tracks there. Really quite good. And so that's where we're at really. And it kind of, it sort of fizzled out in Poland, as in, you know, what do you want us? Do you want? And you ended up sitting at home at a weekend rather than when you could be somewhere.
Yeah.
So in the end, that sort of you know, that answered itself to me. You know, we sort of saw the last, and I think the very last meeting. They always sort of, they're always one meeting behind. So you knew if you didn't go, your last one, you wouldn't get paid for the meeting you did before. So, you know, so they still owe us one.
Well, obviously, you know,
which I'll never get.
Yeah. Obviously, I've heard stories of other riders having problems with Polish money. You know, I think Mark Laram was a good one.
Yeah.
He said that if he didn't have sort of Norrie there, he wouldn't have known sort of like what he was getting paid, really. But did you have any sort of problems with getting paid or anything like that?
No, only that initially, I mean, the first year was terrific because, I mean, it's quite expensive to get out there because the European flights then weren't like they are now. I mean, they're sort of between £250 and £300 a trip.
Yeah.
And to get out there when they wanted you, it's two flights. And initially they were throwing stuff at you to get you out there. So and they want the mechanics as well. So they said, yeah, you must come. Bring them. They're really keen. But you found that you know, I left a bike out over there, and I used to bring an engine, and once I left an engine out there, and Mitch stayed the week with, because he was based himself in Germany then, and with Peter and Alex Schrock.
Oh yes, yeah.
And Alex used to come over and spanner with him. And he wasn't joking when he said, he said, they've been riding your bike all week, practicing on it all week, they've had it all to bits. And he said it's in the workshop, and he said there's absolutely, they nicked every single bit off it. He said there wasn't, and he just said, Jim's going to be here in half an hour, and he's going to go nuts when he sees his bike like that. And they put it. You could tell they've had it to bits because all the bolts are upside down the wrong way round, and you know, I've never put it together and like that. And even the engine mechanic, he said, I check your valve timing, compression, and you know, all that.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm disappointed because the cam is standard. He said, well, it is. But it's so fast. And I said, well, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't help it. He's really he's really disappointed when he sort of ripped it to bits and saw it as, you know, just off the shelf, you know, put together well, but you know, nothing special.
You had no secret components or anything like that just to make you go faster. Did you have like a German engine tuner then at that time, or was everything done over here?
No, I think that's either. I think those ones. I think that's Trevor Hedge at the time. Obviously later went with Johnsy.
Yeah.
Not much later, but they bought all. Initially, that first year, Mitch tried them all. They bought about 9 lantern hammers.
Yeah.
You know, from Otto, and you know, Mitch organised that for him, and we had to go there on a Saturday and try them all, and we tried everybody's bikes, and you know, the couple of the Polish guys, and they didn't beat us out the start once out of all these starts, whatever bike we rode. But out of all the Lanty ones, they're sort of, you know, this one of the Polish guys was moaning how poor his engine was, you know, and because they questioned, why can't you get off the starts? And they said they've changed all the bikes, and you've ridden all the bikes, and yet you can't beat them off the start. So, and then we said, well, we'll go on your bike then, the one you're riding, and you go on our bikes. And of course, I got on it, and his bike, the one he reckoned was really, really poor and no good at all, was the best out of all of them. You know, it's just absolutely incredible. And that's the one that the Polish tuner did himself, the club tuner. And Mitch got off it, and I said, did you ride that thing? And I said, it's incredible, isn't it? And of course, they are just beating up this poor little Polish guy for.
So he was all bad.
That was the best. You were saying how bad it was, and it was like, So I think he got the sack. But they're quite good at sort of. Yeah, they drop riders sort of very quickly, and sort of they're very sporadic people. You sort of did. You ride in a meeting, and they wanted 15 points all the time, and then they scrutinise every single little race, and you think, well, bearing in mind I was riding on the Monday, so Tarnow is a good 3.5 hours, 4 hours away from Warsaw, or sometimes Tegel if we're away. We used to fly back out of Tegel from Berlin, and they spend hours afterwards just going through every detail for about 2 or 3 hours. And I thought, well, I could have been in my bed by now, And so they drop you off at about 2 o'clock in the morning in your hotel, and sort of course you're up at 6. For your early flight, for Reading on a Monday. And sort of like, you obviously used to go to Dougie's place and just crash because you feel like shit, basically.
You need to catch up on the sleep ahead of the meeting sort of thing. But it's good. It's good to hear all this sort of thing, because obviously that was obviously when I was a young nipper, so I would know nothing about that sort of thing. But it's nice to hear it, because obviously I get like the old Polish programs now, and I see your name, Mitch's name, Tommy Knudsen, Hans Nielsen, and obviously people like that who you rode against. I mean, were those sort of guys then tougher to ride in Poland than they were in the UK?
No, not really. I mean, people, like Hans. Probably he was, in my mind, the hardest rider to beat in England, well, anywhere actually, to be honest. He's very hard to beat around Oxford. Mind you, for a few years it was just about impossible, because you had to pick inside gates all the time. Which made it quite hard. But on the rare occasion, I used to hop off the start in front of him and maybe break the Oxford track record and beat him. And he sort of said, "Oh, I see you beat me," but then I realised it's a new track record, so you must have been going quite quick. So you wouldn't accept it when he did beat him. But in actual fact, Eric, you could quite easily take. Well, I wouldn't say quite easy, because he's bloody good, but extremely good. But I find at Cradley, I could quite often outstart him and take some points off him. But Eric seemed to, on the big days and the world finals and the one-offs, he'd just go up a gear, and really polishes. I mean, he's highly polished anyway, but and extremely competitive. But he would sort of pull something special out on the big day, where Hans hadn't got any more left. He was at his best all the time, consistently. So out of consistency, probably Hans, like I say, Hans, he was the harder person to beat, whatever country.
Yeah. No, it's just interesting to know, because obviously I know when you guys went out to Poland for the first time, you wiped the board of the Polish local talent, because obviously your equipment was so much better. And obviously you saying there that they stripped your bike down, nicked every nut and bolt, and then might as well just put the engine in upside down, you know,
Yeah.
just sort of thing. But it is interesting to hear that sort of thing, you know, because did you get any other offers from any other clubs then, or was it just basically just Tarnoff then? Was that it then?
That was Tarnoff, yeah. Obviously, we rode all the other clubs and all the other tracks, you know, and some were difficult to get to. And then it started the real big dollars floating around, and we all just looked at each other when that was going around. And I sort of, no, I'm going to start sticking to the long track, because I couldn't believe the figures, and I couldn't believe that it would be true for the payment of them. And we were right most of the time. So, you know, that sort of rejuvenated the long track and the grass track, really.
Yeah, and then obviously, I can imagine even just doing those few years in Poland, what an experience. And then obviously, it must have benefited you in the British League a bit more, with riding the bigger tracks. I mean, like the old shape pool, maybe, you know, in places like that where it was a bit narrow and things like that. You know, it was probably helped you there.
I think it was uncharted ground. I think you had to do it, and it didn't really matter what type of track racing bike I was riding. It was a chance to you know, have an earner, basically, you know, and it's fine while things are going good. But when it's like all things, when you feel that time it's taken its course, then you have a change, and I enjoyed it. We both enjoyed it.
Yeah.
You know, we had a few laughs. I mean, they are, like I say, a bit bizarre. I mean, I've had some frightening road trips, and, you know, 130 k's, and, you know, the brake pads fly out and things like that, and, you know, and you think, oh no, and, you know, you see it, all sorts, really. And I mean, you go there now, it's tremendous how the road networks have improved. I mean, you're going on these sort of like narrow lane, country lanes, and that's their main carriageways. And you still got horse and carts. You know, you go around a corner, you just see a big clump of straw and then sort of like a car in a ditch, and sort of like, and they still go past at about 130 k's flat out, you know, and wonder why there's so many accidents. It's, you know, just absolutely nuts. And yet, you know, we go past the garage. I've had a trip where they dropped us off. We've been away somewhere. They say, "Oh, we'll drop you back at Berlin, or, you know, the airport," and they said, "Oh, we better get some," you know, before they start. They said, "Oh, we're getting lower diesel." So they must have passed about a dozen garages, but don't stop. So you wait until you run out of diesel, and then they go, and, you know, and it's sort of about 2 a.m, and so I ended up sleeping on I can always remember that, and I think that is the final straw. I think when they got 200 tyres in the back of a transit van, and they said, "Well, we run out of diesel. The garages aren't open. We're in the middle of nowhere, in the countryside." And I thought, well, I'm not even going to make the hotel. And I'll be lucky to make the flight, you know, going out. So I just opened up the back of the van and slept on a load of Barham tyres, you know. and that after that, I thought, nah, I'm gonna, you know.
Yeah, you've done your time. You've done your time now.
Yeah, I thought, well, that's it. Nah, yeah.
Yeah, but then obviously then you went back on, like you said, you went back onto the old grass track and long track scene. You know, and some of your honours again, I've got here listed. You managed to do the World Long Track Series for a few years. First time in the series in '97, managed to finish 10th overall over the 5 rounds. So, what are your sort of memories of the early days of the long track series then?
Well, yeah. Well, before that, actually, they all were one days. I mean, the first long track final was in '84 in Herxheim.
Yeah.
And that was that famous one where you've probably seen it loads of times on YouTube with PC and Egon.
Yeah, that's it.
Where Egon goes on the grass, and I think PC was on Alice Wiesbach's engine, I think. He bolted it in, and it was like a rocket ship. But also PC was riding he's at the top of his game then, and he's determined to win it. And in actual fact, probably had he hadn't touched the tapes in the final, I think he would have done. And I think the wig was there watching, because I think at the quarterfinals, I think he broke his collarbone, and that was at Bilshoven. That was where he sort of clipped the fence, went over the fence, and that is a strange track, because before right in South Germany, beautiful little village, and it all stops. We'll have to stop, wait for the church service to finish, and the guys, as soon as the church service is finished, then they leap over the fence and cover all. Directly behind the fence is a cemetery.
Oh, right.
So straight after the church service, all rolls of plastic come out, and they very respectfully cover all the tombstones up, and then the meeting starts. And unfortunately, that's when Wiggy nearly ended up. He sort of he hit the fence and nearly ended up the other side of the fence.
Oh dear.
You had to be aware that there's additional hazards if you did sort of venture, if you did.
Oh yeah, I mean, because I think wasn't it then? There wasn't long after that. I think there was a lot of the British semi-finals and things like that. And I remember, I think Wiggy having that broken collarbone and just missing out on qualifying for the British final. I think it was that year. But I think that's the year also he had the controversy with Malcolm Simmons and things like that. So he got into the final and things. I remember it sort of like that, because I've seen those sort of things on YouTube. But that 84 final was quite a special one to watch, because I think also another race, Karl Marr goes on the infield because he gets so filled in as well, and things like that. Because was it like a wet meeting then? Because the track looked very, very heavy that day.
Very, very heavy, very, very wet. And I think I made the semi-final, and I wouldn't have made the final, but I ended up riding a Godden in the end, and from actually Don's own bike, and it actually we had a carburetor problem, and it actually didn't do the 4 laps. It actually drained the tank of fuel in 2.5 laps. So just amyl carbs and a bit of dirt in there. And Don being Don said there's nothing wrong with it, but
it's that famous one with Sean Moran that same day. Sean Moran won the title in '83, and then came on, wasn't it, Stone last in '84 on a Godden engine?
But I mean the Godden engine were very ideal engine for the long tracks, because they're so strong and robust, and they really pulled some G's. They had some horses then. You could feel them, and they were good. They were good.
Did you ever try it on the Speedway at all?
I did have one. I put it on the Speedway, but no, I preferred the Westlake, to be honest. The GM was a little bit lighter, so that suited my type of ride, and the Jow as well. I was a Jow factory rider for a while as well, so very confusing.
Very much just scratch your head.
Factory Jow rider, then factory GM rider. But you're more test pilot. Try this, try that. Some of the stuff was good.
And obviously you chop and change like you would do anyway to find something that suits yourself, and go with it. But
well, that's right. Yeah, I mean, that's. Well, did I mention about Lonigo when I borrowed a bike and?
No, I don't think you did. The one you mentioned was the golden helmet where you borrowed Chris Louis' bike. You mentioned that story. You mentioned that one.
Well, I'll mention another one. I mentioned another one, and I know we've mentioned on Speedway now, but Amanda Castagna's brothers, they all used to ride Speedway. So his younger brother Mariano, we're riding at the 10th anniversary of the Golden Gala, and in Lonigo, Italy. And he'd got his bike for sale, and I said, "What's that?" And he said, "Well, I've had enough. I can't. And I said, "That's a really good price, and it's a good bike." And he said, "Yeah, but no one wants it. And so anyway, I was riding the meeting, and I think Eric was there, Per was there. It's a good lineup.
Yeah.
I think Rocket Ronnie as well, Ronnie
Mm.
Corey, and I a lot of those meetings, you're sort of like, you don't have masses of bikes. You haven't got enough kit, so to go everywhere. So you'll beg, borrow, and steal, and I sent the bike, and it was going. If anything goes wrong with it, you're in trouble. And this one bike, and I came in and I was shaking my hands, and Mariana said, "What's wrong?" I said, "I don't think I can't hang on anymore, but it's vibrating so bad it's hurting my hands."
Right.
But I had to keep riding because it's the only thing I had.
Mm.
So, and I'd just beaten Eric, and so, and he said, "Well, use my bike." And I think we had 2 more races to go. So anyway, I hopped on his bike, and it wasn't actually bad. It's very, very nice to ride, very comfortable, very easy to ride. So hopped on it, won a race, and then ended up in the final, and hopped off the gate, and won the final on Mariano's bike. And he was so chuffed because he said before the meeting, and he afterwards he gave me a big hug and a kiss, and he said, "Oh, it's fantastic, it's fantastic." he said it really made me feel happy because now I know that I'm no good for Speedway. And he said, "And I don't care," and I got nearly double the money for my bike. so he's chuffed as anything.
Yeah, I can imagine, because it was the winning bike, and of course then obviously the price goes straight up straight away.
Well, that's what I mean, yeah. And they sort of like he was sort of saying, "Oh, he can't ride it," bless him, and he didn't go bad, but there we go. There's
right.
That's the nearly dropped it, but that's what I think you can see that.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, we can see that. That's good. I like that. Yeah, very nice.
That's the golden shoe. So there you go. But that's not for long track anyway, because we're talking about long track. But
well, we want to hear these sort of stories, and obviously if you can show us some stuff as well, it's brilliant to see, because obviously everybody wants to see these sort of things, and you hear about it, read about it, and sometimes you don't get to see the pictures. But
yeah, that's a success. That was. There we go.
We got the trumpet back out again. Oh dear! But go back onto the long track a bit. You made your second world final in '85, which is the one that Wiggy won his first world long track at.
Yes. Yeah.
How was that sort of track? Because obviously, again, that's on YouTube and things like that. It looked like it was like a very sort of, if I remember right, it's like a very grey sort of surface. It was there, that track.
Yeah, that was another really sort of grotty day. Very flat, very, very big. Cusco, that's or Crosco they call it, I think.
Yeah.
It's a full-on 1,000-meter, and yeah, that's tough. And that's I rode a GM in the final. That was the first prototype, actually. A prototype.
Oh, okay.
With the up and the bottom, the chain from the top.
Yeah.
To the bottom. And that didn't go bad, but we did realise that we put the compression up a little bit more, and I think we probably put it up a bit too high, because believe it or not, on a long track, you think you need as much power as you possibly get, but it was actually spinning off the start.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So I did find on the 1,000-meter, it took me a few years to sort of adapt the starting technique with the gearbox. I was fine on the grass track.
Yeah.
But it took a few years to get the hang of it, and then I realised that the Germans had their own half gears, special gears, which and which I found, which I fell on, or George Bewley let slip, and he said, well, he called them bastard gears because they're not full teeth.
Yeah.
They're sort of mishmash teeth, but it doesn't really matter because you're not in that first gear for a long time, so that actually gave me better options. And obviously, when later on we went to the Jow gearboxes, you could have a close knit first gear and change them without stripping the gearbox down.
Oh, so that's the sort of thing you can do in the pits then on the day. Then you can just tweak it a little bit then. That's
right. The Bewley box, you had to sort of really tip it on its side, take it apart. You could with the Jow boxes, but you could preload 2 gears, so you could sort of look at the size of the track and think, right, okay, well, I'll have these 2 first gear ratios pre-loaded, one longer and one shorter. So then you could, do a couple of practice starts and feel which one dragged you to the corner better.
Yeah, because I never rode any grass track or long track, so all I've done is ever watched it. And obviously, watching you guys do it, and then all of a sudden you click down to a second gear. To me it still seems weird, but it's so good to watch. And I mean, it must have been quite an art in the end to try and get that sort of in the right spot to hit that second gear.
Well, that's right. I mean, some of the guys had extra long first gears made, extra, which is so they could sort of have a real long drag, but and sometimes change mid corner.
Oh, okay.
So depending on the track and where you are, Gerd had some specially made, but Gerd wrists, and obviously he's exceptional. I mean, he was a very strong rider, I mean, some of those Aussie New Zealand trips, we went on those long track trips for Ivan to Bathurst and to Christchurch, or Bathurst in New South Wales, and that they were terrific. They were really, when he first did them, a bit dangerous when you come to think of it now, really, because they went under flat track rules, and whereas you had sort of like long tracks that used to be 8, and then they dropped it to 6.
Yeah.
But Ivan's, that was like as many as you could physically, humanly possible fit on the start line.
That sounds about right,
Yeah,
because when they were on sort of like trotting tracks in New Zealand then.
Well, they were, and that's okay until someone dropped it. Unfortunately, I was quite a fast starter, as you know, so I could stay out of trouble. But one or two guys didn't, and the unfortunate thing, if something happened in front of you, your choices were limited where you could go, because on the trotting tracks you got a fence on the inside as well.
Yeah.
So you couldn't get off the track. So on some of them, others have got other obstacles like lampposts on the inside, big floodlights and things like that. A few straw bales, and I mean, when you come to think of it, some of the tracks we rode in Australia and some of those tours, you wouldn't do it now. If you just look at it and think, well, no, but we did. I don't know why, but
I think health and safety might have some words about some of these tracks, and
well, some are crowd barriers, and that's really sort of. But you could run them under Australian short track rules. That's what they were. But I think they're now they've changed it. Obviously, they would have to. But fortunately for everyone who did them, we respected each other's bits and pieces, and just put on a show, which we did.
Yeah, I can imagine some of the top boys, yourself, probably Simon, Kelvin later on, and people like that all went out there and really did put a good show on for the local crowd and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you just had to sort of be respectful for each other, which you do tend to do that as you get a more mature rider. Early on you don't know what it means.
Yeah, it's win at all costs. It's win at all costs.
That's right.
But just looking back at the world long track and everything, you then didn't make, according to my notes, but correct me if I am wrong, you didn't make the final again until '95. So yeah,
Yeah,
big gap there.
yeah. I think I sort of had a bit of a. Well, I was doing the Polish thing, and then
Yeah.
then I don't know what happened, to be honest. Yeah, it just sort of it just didn't sort of happen. But yeah, you get some years through your career where you sort of get a bit stagnant, you know.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, it's just life, isn't it, really?
Yeah. But that was also the last one-off world long track final in '95 when it was Kelvin Tatum who won it, if I remember rightly off the top of my head.
Yeah, was that was the one at oh, was it Sheasel?
Yeah, Sheasel, that's it.
Sheasel, yeah, yeah. Did I make one at Muldorf? I can't remember. Oh, that was the series, wasn't it? I think.
I think that's the series, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But that was a good final. That Sheasel. The only disappointing thing for me is that the thing what riders used to do is, you know, engine tuners used to turn up with a bootload of engines and for rentals for the day, and they always sort of said, "Mine's better than his. Mine's use mine," which obviously you had to pay for them. And I had a couple off Klaus Lausch, and who at the time was doing some really good stuff. He was doing some good stuff for Hans, you know.
Yeah.
Well, he did Hans's first laydown, and the stuff was really good. But unfortunately, he tried some new parts on these two he did for us, and although I was a bit disappointed because I made every start and hit second gear, and it just died in its arse, and I just got punched. So, as a rider, you know, the thing to do is drop the clutch, and the bike should, when you change gear, you know, give another leap, not die in its arse, and you know, I was very disappointed, really. But he obviously didn't charge us for it, which is you know for the, but it's disappointing for Klaus, really, because and his brother, they put a lot of time into it, but sometimes it doesn't come good. But may have been a different story. I know Simon, he tried every single engine Hans had, and the very last one he put in, which was under his back seat, and he said, "Whose is it?" And he says, "Oh, I haven't tried that one," and that's the one he actually rode. And so I think they had several changes. I know, because Brett was telling me, he said, "Oh, you know, it's quite common for the wig. You know, it's like, you know, turn up with a bite and probably not put a spanner on it, and poor old Brett, he'd probably rebuild about 3 bites about 4 times, you know." And sort of because different bits and pieces, and he's every you know, I like Simon, but he really made his mechanics work hard, I tell you.
He was obviously paying them enough then. That's the sort of thing. But
well, that's the thing. He probably was paying them. We didn't have any, you know. We sort of
yeah, because obviously Simon was just doing mainly sort of like the stuff on the continent, and he wasn't riding, I don't think, in the British League in '95 and things like that. But I get the impression with Wiggy, as much as I look up to him and respect him for everything he's done, he was so immaculate, you know, and driven.
Yeah, he certainly was. I mean, that '95 when he spent the year on the continent, that really sort of like lifted his you know, long track career to a new level, and he really took off then. And you know, well, no one ever caught up with him after that. You know, he just was he's just on a different plane. And no, fair play to him. Good on him. And then obviously Kelvin came along and sort of rattled his cage a little bit. Took a bit of the limelight off him. But no, but the crowds. I mean, all those. I mean, when I first started grass tracks in Germany, you could. There's so many of them. You could ride either in the north of Germany or in the south of Germany. You could, there's so many grass tracks, and it's such a shame because by the time I finished, there was only one left, and that was Harry and Evie Prol at Nandlestadt, their grass track, where I had me farewell.
Oh, okay.
Which I broke my leg, of course, as well. Very last meeting.
Yeah, go out in style.
Yeah, that's right. We'll clap on that one. Yeah,
yeah. Give a clap on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was painful.
yeah, I can imagine it was. Yeah, but yeah, and I mean, then obviously, then it moved on to the series in '96, but then obviously you didn't make the series till '97. So what was the sort of? It was a completely different atmosphere then compared to the one-off world final then.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think they probably wanted to, go on the same wavelength, the same track as the Speedway GPs.
Yeah.
And get to more countries and to more crowds. But I don't think that didn't really work for the long tracks because Herxheim you still got very good crowds, but Herxheim just was traditionally run on they call it Himmelfahrt, which is in Heaven Day.
Oh, okay.
And Himmel is heaven. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Heaven Day. And yeah, believe it or not. But and that was a public holiday. It's always on a Thursday, and they're incredible meetings and hell of an atmosphere. And probably they're my favourite grass tracks and long tracks. I'd say Herxheim's my favourite.
Yeah.
Closely followed by Schiesel, Muldorf, Moravsky in Czechoslovakia, and then you've got some lovely ones in Ubeck. That's a nice one. Altrip, that's a good one as well. And he had loads of good grass tracks like Vector.
Yeah.
And Farkirchen's a beautiful long track as well. Beautiful it is. Yeah, really fast. So the grass tracks, you had Bad Volsy, more long tracks in the Old East. Parking, Ludwigslust. Yeah.
You have so many there. You're just reading off a list in your head, aren't you? where these tracks are.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you'd be going up and down and up
Yeah.
and looking for them. But yeah, no, they're really close. And at the end of it, probably by the time I finished, I say Nandlestadt was the only grass track left, and I think that's in the south, and so it's finished. So they've all kind of disappeared, which is partly to do with not having the one-off world finals. That's probably the format I don't probably think worked as well as Speedway. Perhaps that can be changed a little bit more. Which they did. It's called, I guess they did change it because it's grass track stroke long track.
Yeah.
Whereas before, I know we rode the different sports, but they are very, very different, to ride and certain riders excel in different aspects of it. And also that's when riders could actually just ride Speedway without actually using their full capabilities of their license, because the license you have, if you've got an international license, it's a track racing license, which you can go ice racing, long track racing, grass track racing, and Speedway. So why not use it? And we did, and I feel it made us the ones who did that made us all better all rounders, a better all-round motorcycle. Some of us are better at disciplines, certain disciplines than others. I mean, look at Scully. I mean, he's far better grass track than he was a Speedway, wasn't he? He's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, he went bad at Speedway. He's a bloody good Speedway rider. But you put him on the Ace of Aces and sort of like Yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
About it, yeah.
I mean, it's
But
scary. I mean,
19 years of the Ace of Aces, Christ. That's,
yeah, it's scary. It's
but,
scary because obviously you can still see the videos now on YouTube. Thanks to Bob's videos, putting them on YouTube and things like that. You know, you can see how good Scully was, and like yourself, Simon, even Joe,
yeah.
Joe Screen. You know, everyone like that. You know, I mean, obviously the Ace of Aces, it was down one hill, up the other hill, back down, and back up again. Yeah.
Yeah, Porton down. Yeah, I'll tell you what. I was. I don't know if you were there. You probably weren't probably born, but
Cheers.
no, you were. But were you there when George Hack won it?
No, before my time.
No, before you talk about George, he won it, and it was. It must have been late 80s, late 80s, early 90s, and he had he's on a Jower. Upright jowls were on uprights, and I followed him, and he every race for 4 laps he just never shut the throttle off. He just absolutely had it floored, and I was following and going into the corners. He had his foot so far forward past his front wheel, his butt cheeks going into the corner was bouncing on the ground going into the corner, and that was keeping him. His arse cheeks hitting on the ground was the bouncing effect made him keep the bike upright in the corner. If he ever would have sort of like rolled it off a fraction, he would have been off. And I just came in and I said to Barclay, I said, I've just followed him. George, I said, I've just followed before. I've never ever seen anything like it in my life. How he can stay on, it is incredible.
Yeah.
And he's so strong as well. And I think you could see the handlebars bending as well as he's going around the corners. I'm surprised he didn't snap them, but I've never seen anything like it. Incredible.
You didn't have the old special Egon Muller handlebars or anything like that then?
Well, they all had them, and I think they used to get them specially made and sort of extenders. But, they say Egon ran. He had some. He had everyone there, didn't he? Old Barclay, sort of like it's terrific.
Yeah, because I've got a couple of them on DVD, and I've got the last one from '97 on DVD and things like that. And of course, Wiggy won that one, but the actual meetings themselves were good because obviously the following week was normally the burn up. So
I fancied my chances on the last one at the races actually because I was having a good day then as well.
Yeah.
And I rode in the first one as well when Mike Garrett won it, and that was Winterbourne Gunner, I think it was, or Winterbourne.
Okay.
I was on my Jap then.
Right.
Yeah.
Good old Jap.
Simon rode in it as well, the old wig. Yeah. Probably Julian rode in it as well, I should imagine. So
yeah, probably, yeah. Because obviously people forget that Simon's brother Julian was pretty handy on the grass as well.
He was very, yeah. I mean, my first international in Germany actually. That was, you say about Godden. That was on a Godden and the road meeting in Roden, and I think Joe Hughes has broken his leg, so they looked for a replacement, and went and won it. And Julian was in the meeting. Julian had a broken leg as well, to be fair.
Right.
But actually, my first 2 ever internationals. The second one I rode in Roden in Holland, I won that one as well. So that was a golden helmet, which you could sell back to them then.
Oh, okay.
So for a bit of extra prize money, because it did look like a crash helmet painted with Humbrol. So not like the old Czech golden helmets. I mean,
no.
Which I've got. Well, I was going to show you one. Look,
Oh, they do look very nice. Yeah.
And I'll tell you a bit. That's the 41st. So I can get it out of the vault.
That one says 42nd on it. That one.
Was it 42nd? Is it?
It's 42 on that one. Yeah.
That's the second one I won, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. It might be. But on the back, can you see the rubies on the back?
I can see them. Yeah.
See the stones?
Yeah.
Well, there's 16 of them, and
Oh, okay.
they represent each rider who have lost their life
Oh, okay.
on the track. So
Oh.
that's what they're for. So whoops.
Oh, well, don't drop it.
Yeah. But there you go. I thought I'd show you that one.
Yeah, that's good to see. Yeah,
Yeah.
because obviously, recently, obviously, Jason Doyle's won it the last few
Thumbs up for
years,
that
and
one. There you
yeah,
go.
definitely a thumbs up for that one.
Yeah.
Because obviously, Jason Doyle's been won the last few years doing the golden helmet. And did you ever get a silly photo with it on your head?
Yeah, everyone's got one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, those sort of meetings are very, very good, and obviously it must be brilliant for yourself because obviously you won it twice, and like we said in the last one, you're the best English rider to win it.
Yeah. Did I mention that? I probably did last time. Did I mention that the time we studied the chart with Ollie Olsen and went through it because it was the 70th year when I went.
Oh yeah.
And and we looked at the 2-valve Jar, the 4-valve Westlake, and then when Ollie won it, he's about 5 times I think, and then might have been more than that, 6 times I think, and then Siggy won it as well. Sigalos, and he's on, and they're sort of like 4 seconds, and it went 6 seconds. It's getting faster and faster, and then it was my 2 years, and then Mavis, he won one as well. John JD, the other JD.
Yeah.
And then my turn. And then we're obviously I was on GMs and uprights, but decent tyres. Obviously Dunlop, soft compound Dunlops. And then Jason's time from the previous year, and there's something like 0.2 of a second or something.
Oh really?
And Ollie looked at it, he said that can't be right. He said that. He said look at that. He said and that is actually 30 years.
Yeah.
30 years, and I like, and that's diddle. And he said, that's what we've got to do then. We'll go back on uprights. That's what Ollie said. So there you go.
Well, it kind of proves it then that obviously everyone's throwing money at engine tuners and things like that to obviously get faster equipment, but really and truly it's not really benefiting on that sort of track because obviously Part of Beats has not really changed over the years. It's still big and it's still flat and it's still like a dust bowl by the time you get to the grand final. But it's it's interesting to know that because obviously then there's not much difference at all.
No, that's right. And I mean, that is it. I mean, we had a bit of rubber, put the power on the ground, get the torque down, and I can remember the very first time I trialled those the low profile tyre, if you call it.
Yeah.
And it's just like riding on ice, So, and I thought, oh God, I'll never adapt to this. That's it. Gonna have to retire. But yeah, you have to change again, change your style. Had to change so much through the years, as the bikes change, the engines change, you sort of evolve and had to adapt to make allowances for all these different rule changes and development changes. But probably the biggest for me was the tyre change. And of course, the lay down, if anything, they came along, made things easier to ride. If you were up front over the front rider, but if you're brought up on the lay downs nowadays, I think, well, I watch these GPs and I just don't know how they're gonna get through a season or to the next meeting. I just think, they're just very brave, very brave.
Yeah, because I myself, I never rode an upright. I only rode lay down, and the uprights I get the impression, are quite easier and a bit more forgiving to ride than what the lay downs are nowadays. Because obviously the lay downs hit a bit of dirt and you don't know where it's going to end up. Whereas probably on the upright, you could control it a bit better and get away with certain moves.
Well, yeah, it'll still spit you off if you hang off them like you do on a lay down. You won't last the weekend. You won't last a minute. They're forgiving if you ride them as an up front over the foot forward type of rider. then you can ride them. And even if you look at the good laydown on the modern day laydowns today, the ones who are very consistent, the top GP guys ride up front, over the front, in control rider. Although they are difficult to ride, but they're the ones who can control them. Even though they're very difficult to ride and very narrow. Well, you say a narrow power band, but I think they've got quite a wide power band. But the ones
I think a lot of that sort of thing.
The ones who just fly off, hang their ass off the back mudguard and wonder why they lift. Sort of when they hit a hole or go through a hole, not changing the body weight to allow for going over the hole. I mean, sometimes if the track's holy and grippy, you could go through it, but and gain an advantage. But you had to sort of pull yourself up to the front, start rolling the throttle off before you hit the holes, so it doesn't. So you've got a chance of controlling that jerk when you get it. But I don't know. That's all kind of gone out the window. I think, like sort of say, the guys who have learned how to ride on the laydowns can't ride like that because they haven't got that experience of riding on an upright where you could roll the throttle off and go over the bumps with the throttle off. And get grip.
I also get the impression a lot of these guys nowadays, I mean, I could be completely wrong, but a lot of them only know one way with the throttle nowadays, and that is just twist and go. Whereas I know myself, when I was brought up to know which way the throttle goes. And like you said, if you could roll it off at the right sort of time, you'd be able to get away with going through a hole or missing a hole or whatever. You could get away with it. But I think a lot of the guys nowadays, especially I'd say more like the poles and things like that, they just know one way, and that's flat out, really.
Well, they're flat out, and they go through a hole and blame the hole.
Yeah, that's true.
For crashing, causing it's the hole's fault.
Yeah.
Well, we want to put a hole there. We'll put a hole somewhere else. It's not my fault. I'm a professional. I ride a bike.
Yeah, exactly.
The hole will cause a crash.
Yeah. Get them on the grass track. That's a proper hole. You find some holes in, wouldn't you? So
get them a good old Dutch grass track, Stats Canal or somewhere like that. Blimey, you need Popeye arms to hang on. I tell you.
Oh dear, but that's interesting to hear that sort of thing, though, more than anything. But sticking with the grass track a bit more, you managed to obviously win the Ace of Aces in 1990. I can imagine for yourself that was quite a big honour to win that grass track.
Yeah, it was, because I mean, I think that's who's the page 3 girl. Was it Tracy Elvick? I think who gave out the awards. I mean, there's a picture of it somewhere which my wife sort of really gets upset about. But,
I can imagine.
But he really pushed the boat out. I mean, it's big time, end of season stuff, big crowds, had all the stars there. I mean, that helicopter ride, flying an Egon and and picking them up for the motorway with on the M4 and all them sort of stories. It's just great, and he's a great character as well. I mean, right from the early days where we used to sort of invade the little chef, and then there'll be the tomato sauce fights on the way in the vans, and everyone's got tomato sauce on the windows, and it's good. It's an end of season wind down, but it's a very prestigious meeting to win, and he had some very, very classy lineups, classy riders.
Because obviously that sort of time, the late 80s, early 90s, you had some of the Speedway boys doing it. You had Hans doing it. You had Simon Malenko doing it. Chris Morton was still doing a bit of it, And I think there's that famous meeting where was it BBC Grandstand covered it one year, and just things like that. I mean, the lineup was unbelievable most years.
That really could have been. It's like some of Graham Hurray's meetings as well. I mean, if you get that sort of lineup, those stars, that should be like a world championship with grass track. You know, and I think that's probably may have been a better way of going at that time. You know, so you had a world championship grass track and world championship long track.
Yeah.
And I think it's just such a shame that the sort of the stars now haven't got that. You know, Polish speedway really. I mean, if you're a speedway rider now, you ride speedway. You know, you don't. You know, you base yourself, probably best base yourself in Poland.
Yeah.
And then whatever leagues you want to go from is, you know, travel from there.
Yeah.
If you want to be a serious speedway rider, but it's a shame about the long track, is because those stars, no doubt they make it. They're the attraction. And if you imagine, you had that sort of like, well, Marmande used to do it in the south of France. That's another one like that's normally on Bastille Day, 13th of July. And I don't know if have you ever been there to watch it?
I've never been to watch, but it's one of my tracks on my track bucket list. I want to go and visit because that's the one which is three corners, isn't it? So
yeah, if you ever want to see a something a bit special and celebrate, a lot of people, very good atmosphere, grass track under lights.
Yeah.
If you know, if you think it looks fast in the daytime, you look at it under lights and it is breathtaking. It really looks absolutely terrifying. I can remember Martin Lorimer, his very first trip to Marmande, he stood and watched the practice. Well, he did the practice and he's fast. And he stood and watched the first race and it's dark because it don't start about 9 o'clock at night. And he watched the first race and stood in it and he went white and he said, was I going as fast as that? I said, no, Mark, you're going faster. And he was. But absolutely, that frightened him just watching because it looked so fast. It looked absolutely breathtaking. Under lights, grass track under lights. That's, I think, probably. But if Barkley would have, carried on, I think that's probably what he would have. His ambition was, because he experimented a couple, which I rode in for him, little ones. But I think that's the ultimate, and maybe long track under lights as well. I think that will probably crack it. But you need all the big stars as well.
Yeah, and of course, say looking back at obviously the early day or the 90s and things like that, before Poland really opened up and all that sort of thing. I remember rightly, one of the Ace of Aces ones, you even got Thomas Gollob to do a grass track meeting there. Along with also like riders like Henke Gustafsson, Stefan Dano, all good long trackers in the day.
Jason Crumpy, they all. I mean, Jason was. I mean, I took him to his first long track when he's just 18, I think he was.
Oh, right.
He might have been 17, actually. I think they gave him a special license. He could ride three. I think he could ride 3 internationals. I think it all. So I took him to his first long track. That's in Ludwigslust. I think he rode Peter Schrock's bikes. That's when his Otto sponsored him. And he loved it.
Yeah.
So he hired a car at the airport and then drove to the track for the start of the meeting or the practice. And start. Little trick there with your international license. If you ever forget your driving license, just flash them your international license and manage to get a hire car. Little tricks like that.
It all helps.
Wouldn't get away with it now, but
no.
It's the same as when we used to go on the ferries. Just everyone booked for one, and there's booked for one and see how many could get in the van. About 10, I think. But
hide them everywhere in the van. I
think that all stopped when the Herald of Free Enterprise sank, I think. they had to change they had to count the numbers on the
Yeah.
But I dread to think because what's going to happen now with the Brexit? Because like before, well, it was a nightmare before. I mean, Christ, I mean, you had to have carnets for your bikes. You probably don't know what I'm talking about, but yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, a carnet was a bit of paper. There we go. That's just.
Oh yeah.
There we go. Oh
yeah.
And it's like a passport for your bike.
Mm.
So, and you had to stamp it in every country and then stamp it as an entry and then exit of every country. So if you're going through France to go to Germany, that's sort of like about 3 countries.
Yeah.
So that's 6 stamps out of your book. So you get a book of, say, 70 with a year, which you had to hand back at the end, back to the AA.
Yeah.
All these to prove that you've still got your bike and it's visited all these countries. So, but at the end of the year, when you want to put a few meters in, you count up how many pages you got left in your book. You think, well, have I got enough pages to go in the country? So you used to try and skip one. So
right.
Stamp into one country. Ideally, if you could start stamp in and out of Calais into France and then back.
Yeah.
And you only use 2 pages.
Yeah.
But the problem is the Dutch border, because not going into Holland, they'll let you into Holland, but when you go out to go into Germany, they'll stop you and send you right back to the start and say, no, you can't, because you haven't come in. So you must go back to the border. So you do a 3-hour detour. Yeah, so we've been turned back a few, and they'll follow you and make sure you go back.
Yeah.
And then there's always the stickers and the postcards, and you have to give them to sort of, apologise, otherwise you cop a fine as well.
Oh. Little tricks of the trade that you picked up over the years.
Yeah, and later on, we had to change. We had to go build these. We didn't have carnets, but you had to go to the local VAT office and build your own book. So at the beginning and start of the season, I go to local customs excise and have me 3 bikes on all the bikes I want to take abroad.
Yeah.
So this is what I built in the workshop. Put frame numbers and engine numbers on them. Type the books up, and they countersign them at the beginning. And at the end of the year, you took the same bikes back, and they used to love it. The local Ipswich, 3 or 4 of them used to come out, sign autographs.
Yeah.
And they say, "Well, we'll be following you. Sort of have a good season. See you at the end of the season." And we had to do that 3 or 4 years. Me and Martin Hagen, we sussed all that out, and that was it's half the battle was getting to the places.
Yeah, that's probably where all the stories are. I mean, the meetings, but it's getting there, getting back, all the wild rides you had to do.
Yeah, we've had all sorts of sort of gone in. We got halfway and broke down and had to borrow a horse box. I think Buster was with us once. Buster Chapman. We're all because if you can save a few quid, we always used to double up, and which is sort of the more you get in the van and split the cost up, the better. So I mean that was great. If you got 4 or 5 riders in a van and and bikes out of your ears and but it's a cheap trip.
Yeah.
And so you start money and prize money. It made it a good trip, good worthwhile doing.
Yeah, because I can imagine that you a lot of the boys like yourself, Mark for example, who did the long track, would be riding against each other at Reading on Monday or something like that. If it was Reading Kings Lynn or something. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, so we sort of like because that's the way to cut down the travel expenses, because that's a big chunk of your expense. If you go on your own, well, you can imagine how much it costs nowadays. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fuel, ferry. But I mean, if you can sort of go, I think our cheapest trip to the south of France was about 10 of us in Smudger's van. I think that cost us 35 quid each. So that's right. So we're on reasonable start money as well. So that made it, everyone was happy. In actual fact, I think we stopped off at the breaker's yard for Phil and bought a Citroen gearbox for him for his car. Or he bought a Citroen gearbox.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a squeeze getting in, and it sort of put a bit of a scorch mark on Smudge's wheel arches, but
Well,
yeah,
Smudge's problem.
yeah, it's a bit overloaded, but it's great. But I mean, they're the sort of things you know we did, and I say one trip with Martin, I think we his van overheated, and he rang up Don Godden because he's a Godden rider.
Yep.
And I think Don Godden knew, I think it's Mickey Potter's brother who ran a road racing team. And he said, oh yeah, I've got a horse box you can borrow, you know, like, well, you know, half converted. He said, but the brakes don't, you know, you can take it, the brakes don't. Well, it's not taxed or anything like that. But it pumped up the tyres and it started, and off we went. We're sort of into Germany with it in a sort of like a horse box, all the bikes in the van. I think Matt Mondo's with it, Buster was with us, helping Martin, and it's just full, probably about 8, 9 of us, I think there was. And yeah, went to Germany, no brakes.
You don't need brakes.
Don't need brakes, no. So that's yeah, yeah, very good fun. And I think we saw Grubby and Barkley there as well. I think, where did we go? Vector, I think it was. That turned out. See, I've seen these places start from a field with straw bales, like Marmande in France. The very first one I rode in about 78, I think it was. It literally was on the edge of an airfield with straw bales around. Now it's sort of like 3-corner flood. It's always been 3 corners, always beautifully prepared. But now it's a tourist attraction where, which is, and it's terrific because like the promoters, like their girlfriends or their people who they started out with, are now got are on the councils and part of the community, and look at the grass as a different, as a sport, as their piece of motorsport for the town, and so they promote it, and that's so nice. And it's just it'd be so great if other towns can, particularly over, you know, in this country, could help clubs and say, right, we're proud of our speedway teams and whatnot. Let's give them you know, give them a boost and sort of put money into it as a tourist attraction on, you know, for certain events, or even support certain events.
Yeah, because I mean, you know, you don't really get that sort of thing much more. You know, you don't get sort of like a bank holiday special sort of meeting nowadays. I mean, you get it in the Speedway still, because obviously you get the double headers in the morning and the evening, but you don't really get that sort of thing over here. Like you say, you got when you have it in my mind, it's on Bastille Day, and of course, I've heard stories it doesn't finish till like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning because it's such a long meeting.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I've been there with one of the finals. It was about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, and George Hack was in that one, and I think we travelled with PC as well. He used to do a lot of doubling up with PC on the grass tracks. He's a great guy, and we all made. It's good. The objective is, whoever, when we're all in the van, if we all make the final, that's the objective of the day. So if there's 4 of us or whatever, if there's 5 or whatever, but if we get into the 6-man final, for 4 of us all in the final, that's a terrific day, because we're all, you know, we're all had a result. So and I can remember at Marmande, the race was stopped. I think it's because Smudger went off the track and ended up, you know, in the ditch. I think. In fact, they had only one ditch, and he went in it. And the race got stopped, and but before that, I was following George Hack, and PC was right by my left shoulder, and we're sort of together. And George sort of like was going higher and higher on this Marmande. It's sort of like it's like a big D really, and he sort of went up. So the first corner you sort of like touch the apex and then straight up, and then you go straight along the fence, which is a tiny little straight. Then you peel off the fence on the edge of the dirt, and then skim across the apex, and then you sort of like, if you time it right, then you just touch the edge of the fence going down the long straight. And I mean, all the rest of us gauge it on eyesight, and sort of like, well, no, I'm getting a bit close to the fence now, I won't pull in so much on the dirt. George actually gauges it by the dirt and sort of like how much it's pulling his arms or how much it's pulling, which is, so he's stuck in it. And he actually, where he got close to the fence, he actually rode up. I mean, the fence must have been what is it, about 2 meters high, safety fence, something like that. Well, he was in front of us, and he came round. PC was on my left shoulder, and we both saw this flash and big cloud of dust. And he was in this big pile of, he's really in the soup.
Yeah.
And he peeled off it, and he actually rode up the fence. And I reckon, and his tyre mark was about 6 inches off the top of the fence, and he didn't fall off.
No.
He just rode it like the wall of death, and then he rode down it, and then I shut the throttle. PC shut the throttle, and he come across the front of the pair of us at about 90 degrees, and then he twisted his bike in half to stay on the track, but spat his chain off.
Oh no!
But they stopped the race because Smudger ended up in a ditch, I think it was, and I said to PC, I said, "Did you see that?" and he said, "George," he said, "Have you a problem with the fence?" He said, "No, problem not with the fence. The problem is the chain is off." He was carried on. Didn't worry about the fence. It just me and PC just looked at each other.
You thought, "Oh dear God," that sort of thing. But George Hack sounds like he was one of those sort of those characters, and the sort of the guy who just like hold on for grim death and hope for the best.
Well, no, he's very skillful. He was skillful. He just was fearless. He'd if it was something it didn't bother him a few holes or a bit of if it meant going an inch off the fence to sort of get a bit of grip, he'd go and find it. It wouldn't worry him, and he's strong enough to hang on to it. Yeah. Which is But, no,
again, also he was a former Ipswich rider as well, wasn't he? He rode for Ipswich for a couple of years as well in the British League. Yeah,
I mean, so that is another sort of golden era as well. With I mean, I say when you look back on the long track and the Speedway when you had Mitchinette, Brigo, Olsen, Major. Oh, fantastic, really. And Hack, Muller, Wiesbach, Poschen Rider, they're just, the names just sort of fly off. Pete Michael, PC.
Michael Lee,
That's, I think John Louis had a dabble at it as well, the long track. I mean,
because Chris Louis had a go at it as well, didn't he? Because I've seen pictures surface in recent sort of months of him at Marmande and things like that.
Well, he actually rode my bike.
Okay.
Because one year it fell on a day where I couldn't ride, because I think Chris was riding. It might have been riding for Hackney then. I was riding for Ipswich, so couldn't ride in it. So, and I'd won it the year before, and he said, "Oh," I said, "I can't." And the club rang up and said, "No, I can't do this year because the dates fall wrong." He said, "Oh dear." I said, "But Chris can do it. He would like to have a go." And he said, "Chris Louis." He said, "Yeah." And he said, "But does he ride?" I said, "No, but he can use my bike." And he said, "Oh, great, okay." So he effectively took me place. So he was quite chuffed with. He got my start money, so he's quite pleased with that.
Yeah.
And I said, "You can borrow the bike," and he said, "That is the one I won it on last year." So. you know, it's reasonably got a good chance. Well, he said he absolutely crapped his pants because I think Roscoe rode his first one in there as well, I think, and he said he's fine, and he took his first race tentatively, and then he absolutely sort of he was a bit off the pace, as he kindly put it. Yeah. And, but what he wasn't expecting, when the winner went over the start-finish line, they turned all the lights off. It was fine, but for Chris, but he's still going into the third and fourth bend at the time, so he absolutely cracked his pants. He sort of said, "What's going on here?"
Yeah. All of a sudden, right in the last half of the lap, and also it goes pitch black. You know, that's not an experience you want to have.
Not really. No, they just turn the lights off. So you know, that's a learning curve for him. Mm-hmm. And he rode in my farewell grass track as well, Chris.
Oh, right, yeah.
But he did a few. He did, you know. But there's some good. I say Italy had some long tracks as well. Mantegna, that's a good one.
Yeah. Again, I think a lot of them obviously crossed over from the speedway to the grass track and the long track and things like that. So yeah, again, you rode in what I would class as a golden era again of speedway, where everybody rode everything. So you know, so you didn't just necessarily meet each other on the speedway. You met yourself on the grass track, the long track, or whatever. You know, that sort of thing. Yeah. But there is one meeting I want to touch on though, is the old bonfire burn up. You know.
Oh yes, yeah, that was another.
Because you won that twice, didn't you? You won that in 1995. So you basically did the double at the end of 1990.
Yeah. That's one of my favourite trip boarded circuits, actually, Collier Street. Really suited my riding style. And yeah, I loved it, actually. Loved the place. You could sort of like gear it up, put a big high gear on it, you know, and nice and smooth, no sort of like, you know, rash moves, and just sort of let it build up speed and just, you know, let it roll, let it run, and just keep getting faster and faster and faster.
And then obviously came down to the, was it the old 6-lap fire as well you had as well, didn't you?
Yes, they did. Yeah, I used to like those. The old 6-lapper. Yeah, they keep you fit. I tell you. Yeah, that's what you need. That's what everyone should be compulsory. Everyone should do it.
Yeah, I think you might have a few arguments there.
Yeah, that's how you get your Popeye arms. That's how you do it.
Exactly.
Spinach.
Exactly. Yeah. But no, that was used to be my favourite sort of grass track, was going to Tunbridge, which is obviously local to myself. You know, it's only like 45 minutes to an hour away from me. So it's like, you know, it's a good memories to have of that place. It's a shame we don't have it no more. But did you ever ride it when they sort of converted it into like a bit of a speedway track?
Well, yeah, I did. Yeah. That was good. And then I think they converted it back again, didn't they? Because the material started to get a bit strange, but got a bit too slick and dusty, didn't it? So they sort of like put it back to grass. But they used to run one in the Battle of Britain as well, which I think I won that once as well, I think. But yeah, I like the club, like the guys who run it. You know, the Penfolds. I mean, they were good, grass track routes. And really good to deal with. And they again used to sort of push the boat out. You know, put on a show. Excellent display. Very well organised. And there's still, you know, there's one or two sort of like keen people about. I mean, the thing is, people sort of like, we get older, people, you know, sadly not with us any longer, and that, you know, and that bit of passion's gone as well. But I'm sort of just very lucky, really, very fortunate to sort of be in that era where, you summed it up, really, the golden era. Yeah. And I was sort of living history of it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And of course, then we can hear all these sort of stories now, which are great to hear. You know, it's It's good to hear that sort of thing, and hopefully, in the future, with all this COVID's all sorted out and whatnot, we can get the old grass track and the Speedway going again, and you never know, might get some good, even more better meetings then.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, definitely. It's it's just such a shame, the grass. I mean, it took a few years. Whether it ever did recover from the old foot and mouth, but that was the first little kind of turning point, really. And then and this COVID thing, well, that's just sort of like
Game 1 for 6. So yeah.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, we don't know how we can recover from that, but hopefully it'll all come good. Yeah. But yeah.
It's good to hear, because obviously, like I say, we spoke a lot about the Speedway front in the last episode we did together, but this one's great to hear the grass track and things like that, because obviously, like you said, you've seen places like Marmon come from, like say, a grass field to pretty much a super stadium now. It's probably the same in Germany. You've probably seen places like Herxheim who've come from, again, probably a grass field into a big old stadium that it is now.
Yeah, I've seen huge crowds there, and on the Father's Day, Himmeltag, Heaven Day, Himmelfahrt, or what they call it, and and I can remember going on a presentation once with Coxey, and he was. We started. It's a very slow parade. It's like they go on a little wagon, and look like a little noddy toy,
Yeah.
Like carriage train, and we're going around waving. And the first and second, as we went down the first and second bend, they all look they're all been there all day, hot sunshine, normally good 35 degrees, stinking hot day. They're all on holiday, it's a wine region, there's wine, loads of beer, it's all flowing, and they're having a great time, they don't worry if the meeting's on or who's riding or whatever, they'll just cheer at anyone. But I'll tell you what, and when we got to the first and second, we thought, right, they're all in a good mood. I think Crossy was there, and we saw, they're all fairly hammered, the crowd. And by the time we got to the third and fourth, they were absolutely legless. and we thought, well, there must be a different, whether they've been out in the sun longer or there's a different level of alcohol percentage on the third and fourth bend, I don't know. But they were absolutely, they couldn't stand up. They were like...
Oh, they're brilliant.
I think that was probably do you remember Brian Griffin and Corn? They sort of he ran King's Lynn.
Yeah, Brian Griffin rings a bell, yeah.
And a lot of time they're Wiggy sponsors, and they obviously went to watch Simon, and they're great couple, actually, great fun to be with, really good sponsors, and really hell of a laugh.
Yeah.
And they were part of the beer tent the night before, and and they never saw the meeting at all.
Oh, brilliant!
They never actually. And there's a few who don't actually get to see the meeting at all, and just lay slumped on the table, and that's where they start and that's where they finish.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Yeah, because I've worked with a mechanic for James Shanes a few times, and he's told me some stories from Germany and France and Holland and stuff like that. So it's to hear the same thing again is brilliant, because obviously it hasn't changed.
No, it hasn't changed. No. If people are going to have fun, they'll have fun. And it's like those meetings are so special because they are like carnival days. They're sort of really they're out to have a good time, and they do a damn good job of it.
Yeah, I can imagine they do. But did you ever do the Tetro meeting there in Germany?
I did a couple of times. I entered 3 times. Twice it was rained off, and the other time I done it, I wasn't very well prepared, and actually I borrowed my dad's forks out of his DT100 Yamaha, and just sort of like, and and sort of had a diamond out of a skip, and we braced it up. And every time I went over that big jump, I'm shitting myself because I think my bracing was going to give way. In actual fact, Hans Zerk was there, and he looked at it. He said, "Your bike, Jeremy?" I said, "Yes, yes." He said, well, you heard of the canal, the English Canal?" I said, "Yeah, yeah. This is the best place for this machine." And I did agree with him, because you couldn't actually keep it in a straight line. That was just so awful, you know. But yeah.
Yeah, because if anyone doesn't really know what that meeting is, it's basically like a grass track with motocross style sort of thing, with jumps and left and right hand turns, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, I did enjoy it, but you know, like the same thing. You go from the start, you sort of do a bit of a left, and then I'd say Banksy used to excel around there as well. And then you got a sharp, you turn right rather, not left, and then there's you've got to sort of go over a little bit of a jump, and then a fairly sharp left, which runs along a bit of a fence and a straight. But I got there sort of made a fairly reasonable start, got there, and then about 3 people just went round the outside of us, splattered against the fence, and carried on and off it. And I thought, "Oh, right, okay, I see what all this is all about." So, you know, look, probably a bit too cautious. And what put me off was going over the big jump. As you came down the hill, it sort of twisted left and right.
Oh, okay.
So, but as you can't actually see if anyone's dropped it in front of you. So I just couldn't do it. I couldn't commit. I couldn't, because I always thought I was going to either thought it was going to drop out, or I was going to land on top of someone, because you couldn't see them as you're going down. So it was quite mind over matter, which I didn't really have long enough to master it, to be honest.
No, but it was another one you done and you tried it, and obviously again it didn't suit you, but obviously I've seen photos of Simon doing it, and I think he won it a couple times, and
he's very good round there, except and I think probably we used to, I mean, there's enough meetings going on anyway, but I think there's we used to do Gustro Saturday night and Sunday night.
Yeah.
And then Hazelwinkle on the Monday on the way home. And that, you know, and I think one weekend, I think 1 year Simon won Saturday night Gustro, Saturday Tetro, Sunday night or Sunday Tetro, Sunday night Gustro, and he won Hazelwinkle on the Monday. And we had a little tot up what he heard, and he had a big smile, bigger smile than normal anyway.
Yeah, managed to keep his keep his big old wagon fueled up, put it that way, shall we say?
Well, you needed to on that bus, I'll tell you, because
because he took it to another level again, didn't he, with his big old bus and things like that, and obviously all the things that he tried.
That was all right until you're sort of in the middle of on the side of the motorway, trying to take a wheel off, and it's pissing down with rain. It's not so funny, and sort of like Brett's saying, "Have you done that yet, Donk?"
A nice bit of encouragement.
Yeah. Try a bit harder.
He's there with his legs up and his feet up, watching you doing it. Yeah.
Are you getting wet?
Yeah, oh, brilliant, mate, brilliant. But because obviously, again, touching on Simon, he obviously done all that stuff with aerodynamics, and obviously the suits, and obviously that famous sort of like back mudguard that he made or had made.
Yeah, I mean, he was, him and Julian, really. I mean, Julian's bike, so I don't know if you've seen some of the stuff he's been restoring. And
not really, no.
Fantastic, you know, he's way ahead of the game, and his work's just superb. And Simon's well, you know, got great ideas. and yeah, good forward vision. I think that's sums him up, you know, and yeah, to improve his sport, and he did, you know, and he accepted the criticism and the banter which went on because he looked like an amphibian, you know, green suit on, you know, with all his go faster gear on.
But he made him stand out though. So.
Well, there you go. I mean, and it's you know, a bit of gamesmanship as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, it worked for him. So yeah, he's brilliant.
Well, no, it's good. And again, it's a shame that he's no longer with us or anything like that. Because I'm sure he would have turned the sport around a lot in his own way. Because I think I've got a Speedway star from like '93, I think it was, and the stuff that he said was going wrong at the time in '93 hasn't changed and still is slightly going wrong nowadays, and stuff like that.
Well, that's what he said. He had a great forward vision. We spent hours sort of travelling and waiting for planes in airports, and we used to sort of like have a lot of discussions, what's wrong with the sport and what we can do, and sort of like, and I think he showed me his letter once. He's going to, he's going to write this to Terry Russell, and sort of, this is my ideas, and that was, and he said, what do you think? And he said, I haven't showed anyone this, and he said, what do you think? I sort of value your opinion, because we used to chat a lot about different things, and you know, and he knew I'd tell him how it was, you know. Wouldn't sort of, if I didn't think it was a good idea, I would tell him. But he showed me all, you know, what his forward vision of the sport and how it's going to, you know, the way he could improve it for television, and so he had a great great skill, and that's basically what the team suits was, and that was one of his ideas, which obviously Terry took on board and pushed it along, and that's kind of I think that's a plus. So that's, you can, when you see a team suit, you can say, well, you know, that's probably something Simon's, you know, one of Simon's legacies.
Yeah, because I've got. Because I've got one of the Eastbourne ones from that year, from '98, when we had the team suits on, and I never knew how thin they were until you picked them up and you thought, Jesus Christ, these were really thin suits that they first came out with.
Yeah, they didn't have a lot of protection, did they?
No, not really, no. But obviously,
the Sainsbury bag had a bit more at the
time. Yeah, it probably did. But no, but I mean, like you say, most clubs run with the suits and everything. I mean, again, a race jacket is good to have, but I think obviously nowadays it is the suits that make everyone stand out.
Yes, yeah, and the different styles, and yeah, it works, and it's good for the TV, you know. It's, and you can look on the GPs now, and how everyone's smarting themselves up. The bikes look good, and the levers look good. The entertainment's there. I mean, the GPs really are a success, but then you think, well, the success was probably the forfeit of probably some of the other track sports, perhaps. You know, and
because I always
think, well, I don't think it's probably, you know, is there enough riders to go around? You know, we need to sort of
that's the
breed
thing,
a few more, I think. You know, there's so many quality riders who could sort of with multi-disciplines, you know, that really were.
Because I don't think you'll ever get someone like what Eric did in '84, where you win the World Individual Speedway Championship, the World Long Track, and obviously win the World Team Cup and probably the pairs as well. You know, you won't ever get that, I don't think, in the modern day.
Well, I mean, someone like Michael Lee, but
well,
or PC, or
PC,
yeah. So no, you're right, but I mean that just shows, you know, that golden era.
Exactly.
I mean, there's quality riders now, but I think probably there's probably a few more. You know, and the level was a little bit. I don't know. What's your opinion? Do you think it's a higher level or a lower level? Or
if I look back on what I know from that sort of those sort of eras, I think the modern rider today doesn't do as much as what you did back in your day. I mean, okay, you didn't have the Grand Prix series and things like that, but then you were committed to riding in Poland, doing the grass track or whatever. So I reckon you did probably more meetings and just as much traveling as what they do nowadays. But the difference being is that you're, like you said before, multidisciplined. You know, you could go to, I don't know, say for example, you went to Arena Essex on a Friday, you know, with Reading, and then it was like a wet night at Arena, and then you go somewhere on the Sunday, and it can be the same conditions there, and you can just adapt to it. But I think if you put someone like I don't know, like Bartosz Marslik, you know, bloody brilliant on the speed bike, but maybe if you put him on a grass track bike or something like that, he wouldn't be able to adapt to how he is on the speedway. I mean, he might do in time, but I don't think he would be able to adapt to it like you guys did back in the day.
Yeah, it's a different. It's a good debate, really, isn't it? Maybe
very much so.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, one for Ron.
Yeah, like many of these debates are. But no, it's interesting to hear what you and Simon used to discuss a lot of things. You know, it's because obviously, like you said, again, the team suits is one of Simon's legacies, amongst other things. Did he ever sort of talk about the future of British Speedway, like especially like sort of English riders? Did he have like a plan that he could ever put into place to help the English kids?
What was it? Hang on, someone's popped up on here.
Hang on.
Glasses on. No, that's all right.
No, you're good.
Right. Don't know what that was.
No.
Runner 3 scan or something.
Oh, no.
No. Well, he's just passionate. You know, he wanted to see the sport grow and be on television and sort of money involved, and you know, and let's face it. I mean, the money's at the very top levels better than it ever has been, but it's still nowhere near for the risks you take. It still weren't nothing near some of the other sports like tennis, golf, cricket. You know, possibly rugby union now. You know, there's sailing even. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. Yeah.
And you think, well, we're getting there, but we're still a long way off. And it's how do you get that, you know, push that product? How do you improve it that stage further? Do you sort of then go to the, you know, the Asian countries and sort of push it and sell it that way? Because I think it's a great product to sell.
Yeah.
And I think that you've got, well, I don't know. It's changing now. I don't know if it's who they've awarded the contract to. It's that is it the Polish company now, isn't it?
Because Eurosport have got the rights to the Grand Prix series. Eurosport have for the next 10 years. Obviously, I think the British League is still being covered by BT over here. But obviously, this year would have been, well, it is BSI's last year of being in charge of the Grand Prix before Eurosport take over. Because obviously, Eurosport were involved, I think, with One Sport, who run the SEC.
That's it, yeah.
And they've all sort of got together and they've got the rights to the Grand Prix. And obviously, the things that you read in the press about what they want to do, you know, is great, obviously, but it's a shame that BSI's last year was in a COVID year and they couldn't really capitalise too much on what the product is now.
Yeah, it's disappointing for them, really, because I think they've done a terrific job, you know, and I don't know if it's a 2P thing, whether it's the same staff who will be managing for the. I've got no idea. But I mean, it remains to be seen what their aspirations are.
Yeah.
You know, for the where they're going to take it to different countries, or I hope they do it justice. That's what I'm worried about. You know.
Yeah, but I think
I certainly have.
Yeah, they have. They raised the bar in 2000 and things like that, and onwards they raised the bar completely with a lot of it.
Yeah,
but
they have.
But looking sort of more like towards the British League, I think a lot of the problem with the British League is the fact that we've lost a lot of clubs. It hasn't helped over the years, and things like that. And I saw, I think it was a press release by Glasgow earlier this week, also last week, saying about that they're contemplating changing the points limit for next year, even though we've not ridden any league racing over here for this year, which in my opinion is a bit of a strange one. But
they got to have something to talk about, haven't they?
That is true. That is true. But the one thing I would. Yeah, well, that is true. Yeah, the old annual meetings might be quite boring after a while, but but the one thing I would like to see come back to the British League, especially, is the old tax sub rule. 6 points down, bring a tax sub in. Not necessarily on double points, but just to replace an out of form rider for an in-form rider, like you used to be able to do.
I thought they already brought that in, didn't they?
I think. Well, I don't know. It keeps changing so much. I can't keep up with it.
No. I thought they did last year in certain competitions, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they might have done.
Yeah.
They might have done, but
yeah, I'm sure they did.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
I don't know, but yeah, but because I remember they said they one year they exempted Heat 8, for example. They couldn't bring a tax sub in Heat 8, 1 year and things like that. And you just think, well, I know it's an easy race for a tax sub to get a maximum points from, but
yeah, that's right. Because that is an easy one to do. Yeah, I can't remember what they called it, but it's similar to a tax sub, but it wasn't, was it?
Yeah, I think it was something similar like that. But but I still think sometimes you got to go look back at what it was the sport over here to help move it forward, really. At the end of the day, but. What do I know? I know nothing. It comes to it all.
I don't know how you can drive it forward now. I think the bikes need looking at for sure. I think probably they're maybe go back. When the laydowns first came out, they're terrific things. You could they're rideable, controllable. So perhaps go back to that era. How you do it, I don't know. How you police it, but they certainly were more rideable.
Were a lot of them then like old uprights converted then?
Well, they were, yeah, and so when you first went from upright to lay down, they lost a bit of the mid range. So so what we tried to do was put the mid range back. What you missed on the upright. Which we managed to do on the early laydowns, and you had something with a great spread of power and something really rideable. Very usable, very very flattish torque curve, and nice to ride. Basically, easy to ride, nice to ride. But there again, we were all over the front type riders.
Like you said, I think a lot of it bases down to the style of the rider more than anything, with a lot of things.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, and that's. I guess that's basically it. And then it's just gone further and further, doing more revs, and and I think it's now you've got riders who they've only ever ridden laydowns.
Yeah.
And I think probably the way they haven't ever learned how to ride with a big old chunky grippy Carlisle tyre. if you say, right, everyone, or soft compound Dunlops with a sort of big old chunky bit of rubber, if you put them on the lay down, probably now with a modern day rider, he probably would pull his arms out, or he probably wouldn't get around the corners. You'd probably have to change something.
Yeah.
so they're about to ride them at all, so they would have to roll the throttle and sort of, because that lay down so much rubber,
Yeah.
you wouldn't be able to get round the corners unless you changed them a little bit.
As long as you don't go back to the old solid block tyres of '96, then we think we'll be all right.
Well, they're like sort of concrete, weren't they? Sort of.
Yeah. Because
I mean, those things, the tyres. I mean, they make a hell of a difference, to the safety and the type of style, tyres and obviously, rideability.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I mean, the last time I rode a lay down was probably Morton Rosa's testimonial, and farewell.
Yeah.
And that, and I thought, well, they just lack so much mid-range.
Yeah.
And it's like, like an automatic, and it just, I thought, well, there's no, I can't ride, I couldn't ride,
No, yeah.
It's not my type of bike. I'd have to have something with where you could sort of roll the throttle off, and which I did, rode like lay downs, and mine were like that, but they're very easy to ride as well.
Yeah.
You could sort of work the throttle and work it, but obviously riders don't ride like that anymore. So
no, exactly.
Yeah, so maybe I'm odd. I don't know.
You just like to go fast and controlled, put it that way, should we say?
That's I thought that was the name of the game.
Well, yeah, and like anything, times have changed. But anyway, Jem, we must wrap this up because it's been a great part 2 to obviously the part 1 we had earlier. It's great to hear your stories, and fingers crossed we can all sort of meet up again in the new year or when the season starts and have some more laughs and chats, and things like that, Yep, thumbs up.
And we'll have one there. Sorry to bore you all, I'm sure, but there you go. Yeah.
No, well, the last video we had, the chat and everything, it's been one of my best ones so far. I've been most listened to and most watched I've had so far. So,
oh, that's good. Do you get many watching it or not?
The numbers are creeping up. Put it that way, they're creeping up, but it's getting everything out there. So hopefully this part 2 will get even more people. We'll get people even more enthusiastic and enjoy it more. But
there we go. There we go.
Hey, bit of love. That's what it is.
Give me love.
Exactly. But cheers tonight, Jem. Much appreciate it. I must say to everyone, please like the pages again. I keep saying every time, like it, follow the group. It's all on YouTube and Spotify, and as I found out the other day, on Apple iTunes, so you can subscribe to me and watch and listen to any of these anywhere, anytime. So, but thanks tonight, Jem. Much appreciated, mate.
Love these stories. Cheers.
Take care, mate. Bye.